So going live, we are here, TDO, Instagram Live, Ask Maestro, and I'm going to have a conversation with my friend Christian von Horn, the baritone bass baritone, who is going to join us, if technology allows it, from Virginia. So let's see what's going on. I'm sure Christian, here is Christian, great, this worked. So Christian is going to ask to join, and I am going to let him in a few seconds. I see a lot of people are tuning in, which is wonderful. Christian, still waiting to have your request. Let's hope he has a good connection. I suppose Madeline is calling us from Taiwan. Hi, Madeline. So I had already conversations with Emmanuel Cesson, who was the first harp from the Metropolitan, and then hi, David, who is going to move to the LA Field as the principal harp, which is probably now the best job for any orchestra harpist in the world. And then I have had a talk with Eileen Perez. Eileen was really great here. Christian is still not able to make it in his request. It worked half an hour ago, so it's going to work at one point. And then we had Eileen Perez, who was calling from Chicago, and had a long chat with Eileen, and a wonderful chat too with, I see Christian is in, so a wonderful chat with Matthew Polenzani. And that was terrific because I have really worked a lot with Matthew, but we never had time to just talk. We just worked, but we never really talked. So that was fantastic. Okay, now I see the request from Christian. I'm going to accept it, and Christian is going to come in. Okay, we are getting this right, I hope. So connecting with Christian. Here is Christian.
Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay. It takes time. Yeah, you had to do your hair, maybe.
Well, I was very busy, but I'm fine now. Everything's fine.
Whoa.
It's like living in an airport now. There's no time zone. Everything is fine.
Nothing, and it's cocktail hour all around the clock because we are living on the internet.
It doesn't matter now.
You just connect with anybody within the right time zone.
There's no reason to get up. It's fine. It's fine. It's like living in an airport.
So you are in Virginia, correct?
Yeah, my home is in Virginia.
Oh, and that has been, where were you born?
I grew up on Long Island. I was born on Long Island, New York, and grew up there. And, sometimes we moved so many times over the years, and we wanted to be a little bit closer to family.
Right.
And so we decided down here, very close to my sister, and
right.
There's lots of green grass, and the neighbor has horses and all these kind of things. So it's a little more country living.
So it's not a bad place to be contained and wait for this nightmare to finish, correct?
I have some land here, and so there's a pond nearby. We can get out. We don't feel trapped. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. But it's kind of the same for us here. We are in California, and we're just in the mountains. And the difficulty is not to be 6 feet from anybody. The difficulty is to find someone when you are outside. and one of the paradox of what's happening is that, and everybody's noticing on that, but everybody has a different take on it, is that the air has never been so clear.
Oh, I know.
The light so pure. And it's kind of a strange irony, nature biting us in a strange way back.
It's funny. Oh yeah, I mean, the pollution levels are down. People are seeing mountains they didn't know existed. Like all of a sudden, the world is fixing itself.
Right.
It's a great global reset.
Yeah, it's a global reset. I even heard from a friend, and I don't know how accurate this is, but that in India, the projected rate of cancer is going down. because young kids are not going to be affected by pollution the same way.
Maybe this is the world just telling us we needed to restart.
I think somehow, I don't know if this virus was sent only by nature, and we won't go into this, but nature is definitely having an interesting answer to that. So what's your day? I mean, you are with your wife and you have 1 or 2 kids?
Just one. My boy's here. He's 6 years old, and so I'm somebody who needs to stay busy. Just like you, I've never stopped. I only know how to go, and so this is a new thing for me. And so I've painted the entire house. The garden is planted. The grass is green.
Wait a minute. The paint color is not right. I think you need to redo it.
That's a great idea. Start over again. I do.
Yeah.
It's important for me to stay busy, but honestly, I had a big cancellation yesterday now, so I'm not going anywhere until August, maybe.
Right. So
we'll see.
that's the thing we are all living now, and it's interesting. Like you, I work on all continents, and the various countries are reacting differently, and the various companies are reacting differently. But somehow, all the companies in the U.S. have the same reaction. It just takes them more days or more weeks to do the same thing, although they are not paying artists the same way they cancel, and we might go into this.
Although I've heard good things about the Dallas Opera taking care of their people.
Well, we tried, I mean, just the idea. What is interesting, to be honest, is that the smaller the company is, the more they are paying. And the higher they are, and we know which one is the highest, the least they are paying.
Yeah, I know it.
And there is...
Believe me, I know it.
There is, I was supposed to do a bohème right now at the Met, and were you in that bohème actually, or no? We would just have finished up Cenerentola last week. Yeah. Right. So, but there are 2 reasons I think for this. The first one is that the smaller companies, they need to keep their relationship with the artist. You won't go back to small company if they don't treat you well. Whereas the Scala, Vienna, or the Met, they don't, you will want to go there because you need to go there. It's fun to go there, and it's needed for your brand. But also the point of view of the Met is that they depend on box office more than any other company.
Of course.
So the financial aspect, it's just like, well, if I die, you don't have a job anyway.
It's so funny because we signed these contracts, and for years now, the word pandemic has often been in them. You just never thought this would ever come to pass, that they would actually be able to enact this clause.
Right.
And so for the first time ever, we're going, oh my God, what are we putting our names on here?
Right. What? And I have a thing with contract, at least the one where I'm the receiver of the contract. I don't really read them, or I don't.
Oh, well.
You just think, oh, what is this about? A flood in the opera house? Never happened. Well, ask Houston,
That's right.
And we are there with this pandemic. How do you see this affecting you in the next months and years?
Well, I mean, initially it's a financial loss, but not one that I haven't planned for, but I'm good at saving money. I'm not good at spending money. And so it bothers me. It bothers me to use it, but that's why it's there. Money's there to solve problems. And this is a problem. And so, I'll keep everything going, which is fine. But it's hard to watch it. It's hard for everybody. It's hard to watch money go and not come back in. And so, that's the initial struggle. The other struggle, is that I'm a worker. I'm on the road 10 months out of the year, and so it's lovely to be home. It's wonderful to be home, but it quickly weighs on me that I'm not working.
Right. So a lot of people are telling me, oh, you must enjoy this sabbatical. You finally have some vacation, and it's true that we have been complaining, oh, I have too much work.
Of course, of course. It's our favorite complaint.
Yeah, but in my case, I am also working daily on fundraising, which is needed more than ever, and which is very complex, as we know, and also on the social media activities. I mean, David has been amazing for the Dallas Opera, designing something like this, but we need to stay relevant. We
have to stay engaged. Absolutely.
We need to stay engaged. And this, what you say, you know, having saved money, well, you are in a position where you can save money, but there's been a lot of studies about singers, artists in general, who are living really literally paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, I know. I have plenty of my colleagues, yeah.
Yeah. And if this goes on for too long, they won't be able to do anything. And if our industry starts much later than the rest, they will have to take another job. And
I'm certain of it.
to start again. So there might be some kind of unnatural selection here that is very, very disturbing and unfair.
It's a good way to put it.
Some parallels with what happened during the war, for instance, the Second War.
Like, how many singers are going to be ready to get back to it when the time comes? Maybe they will have moved on to something that's a little more stable.
Right. Right.
That's a real thing, I'm sure.
That is quite disturbing. And we all say, well, let's try to see what's the good that's coming out of this. And certainly, you know, this presence on the net, the social media development is there. But what you and I do is a direct communication with an audience here when you can breathe together. And breathing is the most forbidden thing ever.
That's right. That's right.
And as a singer, you breathe even more than me. And so this is very, very disturbing. We will reinvent something for the live performances.
It will look different than it ever did. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the difficulty is that we try to think this, to anticipate, and we need to as institutions. At the same time, the data are changing every second or every day.
Yeah, right.
And as I was saying, so now I had in Prague, where the situation, you know, I'm the music director of the Prague Philharmonic, and the situation in the Czech Republic in terms of the development of the virus is not as bad as it has been in France, Spain, or Italy, although, you know, this is very close. But now they are anticipating it's going to get bad for them later. So we are already replanning some things that are in September, but we have not canceled June. So we are making things in smaller halls with less people and so on.
Everybody's going to come back at a different rate, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Christian, I was trying to research this, and then I didn't want to go too far, and I want to make this part. The first time we worked together, was that...
you can do it. You can do it. Nope.
Norma is just lately.
The first thing we did was 2010 in San Francisco. We did a Werther.
Oh, right.
That's right.
And you know what one of the tenor was in that Werther?
Well, David did it for the first 3 weeks, didn't he?
Yes, and then he did some performances too.
That's right.
It was Ramon Vargas and David was fantastic in this.
That's right. David was a baby.
And it was big.
So were we.
A production on Francisco Negrin and Louis Désiré. Then we did this Hoffman with Matthew Pelenzani. We were talking about this.
That's right, in Chicago. That's right.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Did we work in Washington together?
No, but we did the Norma in Dallas, of course, and we did Romeo and Juliet and Faust in Chicago.
We did Faust in Chicago, of course. This amazing Faust.
That's right.
With Ben Bernard. So here it is. These roles, all of them. I mean, do you call yourself a bass baritone or a baritone bass? Certainly.
I always say bass baritone because I don't. A high F for me is a lot easier than a low F. And so, honestly, when you're coming up, nobody takes a bass serious until they're 40 years old. And so by saying bass baritone, all of a sudden people let me sing Figaro and things like this, where I could work when I was younger.
Right.
And so bass baritone, it just felt right. It was the right fit for me. It's a bass with a good top. Right.
And when did you, as a student, know you were going into that Fach?
You know, my teacher and I just kind of did it naturally. There was no forcing it. We never put a label on it. And so as years went by and I noticed that my top was getting better.
Right.
suddenly then it made more sense to say bass baritone. But I'd be much more scared to sing a low F than a high F.
Right. Wow. Wow. And where do you think you are going to go with your voice?
I kind of like where it is, but you know, everything keeps changing. It's always changing. But I have quite a bit of Verdi on the books now, and so that seems to sit in the right place for me.
Right.
Maestro's typing to his agent right now.
Yeah. I'm just saying, well, to cancel that role for Christian, you know, we don't want any of that.
There's been talk of Wagner and things, and I'm slowly moving towards that, I think, but there's no rush. No rush.
Right. The good thing about being a bass is that somehow, is that true? Your voice matures with time and gets darker and bigger.
Yeah. And every opera needs you.
Every opera needs
you. And forever I was standing behind the soprano and tenor, and then as the years go by, you slowly make it up to the front with them, and you know, even now starting to have my own shows, you know, it's been a good progress.
Right. And just tell me, how do you deal? You progressed kind of very organically and naturally in your career to the first role. How did you manage this mentally? I mean, this becoming now the base to go for certain roles.
You know, you actually, I'm not just bringing this up because it's you, but you said something very smart to me when we were doing Hoffman in Chicago, and I was the villain's cover.
Right.
I was singing Crespel, and I was the villain's cover, and I sang about a week of rehearsal because James Morris was out sick that week. And so I really learned the role with you, and roles with you. And you said after rehearsal one day, you said, don't let this thing sing you. Make sure that you're singing it, because, you know, it can swallow you up. And I think the major idea was to just take it slow. There's no reason to oversing at any time. Keep it natural, keep it progression, slow and steady. And I took that advice. You know, that was something you just said to me very quickly. Like, don't let this thing sing you.
Right. Well,
that's been my approach. Just no rush.
Yeah. Wow. So where was your training? Where did you start?
I studied with Richard Cross on a university in New York called Stony Brook. And we were there for a couple of years, and then I went to. Are you having a lot of feedback?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm yeah.
He's typing David right now.
Yeah. That's it. I'm triple tasking, which means I'm triple failing. You know.
No, and then I went to Yale and got my master's degree at Yale, and then I was a young artist in Chicago for 2 years. And then I went to Munich after that and was a fest singer for 2 years from there.
Right. So, which brings me to the next question. How you're still working a lot? Yeah, I know. I need that one too. Between Europe and the States, which are really different. I mean, the way the opera houses. You know, see, no, I canceled that one. How do you feel about this? I mean, are you game to rehearse for 8 weeks with a director who is trying to understand how the piece works?
I have been in that situation. It's difficult. When you get to the first day of rehearsal and a director cracks the score for the first time, it's a little intimidating. I tend to shy away from new productions in Europe, unless it's with the right people.
Right.
But, you know, maybe we're in a time now where we're not going to be as choosy as we used to be.
No, I think we won't. I was talking about this with Matthew, and in a certain way, for me, it's relaxing to sometimes to just really go slowly for the piece. And this is the model that comes from the theater. You know, you try to figure out the piece, you dismantle it, and then you reassemble it. And that there is a great fun into this. Sometimes just a little 2-hour rehearsal and a brush up.
Right.
It's a fantastic orchestra and fantastic cast can bring very strong dramatic.
I've been in that show too. I've been in the show where you're meeting your colleagues as the curtain goes up.
Right.
And I've been in the show where you have 8 weeks of rehearsal, and the problem with the long rehearsal time is that you get past a point where the singers are singing at their healthiest.
Right.
And you finally, after 2 months, and then people aren't singing the way they used to. I think 8 weeks is too much for me. I'm much happier with 3.5 and 4 weeks. It seems to open at just the right moment.
Right. How do you prepare a role before that? How much time do you take? Do you go to a coach? Do you learn yourself and go to a coach?
I'll do all the dirty work long before I go see anybody. I'll make sure it's 85% memorized before I have somebody come in, and then I just need a repertoire. I style things. There's going to be, as the maestro, you're going to want things that a coach would tell me to do or not to do. Everybody has a different opinion, so I don't like to come into rehearsal with too many ideas of what it exactly needs to be. And so I just get a repertoire to help with my memory. Style things have to come in their own time with the maestro, with the director, with the production. But as far as preparation goes, I have a score a year before I have to do something, and do it the hard way. Do it nice and slow, over and over and over again. I remember Jerry Finley saying that it takes him 100 repetitions before it's really in his brain. And I don't need 100, but I need almost half of that. And so I take the process very, very slowly. It seems to be the only thing that works for me. I can't learn things fast and then rely on myself to have a good performance. It has to be in the DNA before I can really do it. Right.
On the other hand, I think it's Marta Argerich who was saying you need to rehearse 160% to be able to perform at 100%, which is also saying like the depths and the intensity. And what I find the most difficult to rehearse sometimes is the level of energy you will have to put in a performance, which goes
Very
back
difficult.
to what you were saying earlier, but also the mental energy.
Oh yeah.
And I learned my lessons. I remember doing a butterfly and like rehearsing for 3 weeks and being so intensely, crying and being in the tragic of what was happening, and arriving at the performance, there was nothing new to really bite.
You're definitely one of these maestros that gives everything from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I've never seen you sort of coast through something. It's always like with the energy. And so that has to be exhausting.
Well, I'm trying to. It's what, you can't go to the gym, so you go to rehearsal and you try to do your gym at the rehearsal in a way. But emotionally or mentally, it's you need to learn to still pace that. And I think, I don't know about you, but I learned that through time. Also the concentration. You can have the worst, discussion, fight with anybody, and you go in the pit, or you even go on the podium for a rehearsal and you have 100% there. And some of that switch is a very quick one now. In the past, it used to be so difficult for me.
I live for that switch. If I'm not feeling well, if I'm tired, or like you said, you're having a problem, and the second the curtain goes up, everything goes away. Nobody ever sneezes on stage. Nobody ever has to run to the restroom on stage. Something happens there. This magic happens where the whole world disappears and you just have this one thing to focus on. And I live for these moments. I live for the magic.
Right. Absolutely. And this cannot be calculated, as we were saying with a lot of your colleagues, but we do live for those moments. And concentration is a very, very, very strange thing. I am also we're doing what we love. I don't think we could do many more different things, or at least this is the thing I would rather.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah, that's what I was not wanting to say. But it's a job. So it can happen that you get in a rehearsal and say, okay, we're doing this again. I'm not at that point yet in any performance. The day I'm in a performance and I start doing my taxes, then I say, okay, I need to stop this. And the level of motivation and love for what we do is growing, I think, because we see more things.
So what show have you done more than anything else? Because I know that I have been in almost 100 performances of La Boheme, and I'm not doing my taxes, but I'm certainly sometimes watching. if you know what I mean. I'm in the show and I look over and I go, boy, the tenor just had a good note. You know, like I can sort of remove myself because I have such muscle memory for the show that my line will come out every time. I could try and
Okay, we're back live. We're having some connection, and I'm going to get him back. Here we are. Hi, Christian. We're back.
Maestro is such a busy man. His phone just ran out of battery.
Yeah, yeah.
He just took 3 more contracts in that little pause.
Yeah, well, and while you were taking 3 more martinis, we were into Carmen and Bohème probably are the two operas I've done the most, and they are both actually technically very difficult. So there is always something to worry about. So
what's so interesting about your job is that you have to determine how well a singer is having their evening. So if the tenor's having a great night, you know you can let him fly. You know if he's struggling that you better keep things moving and save him here, save him there. The same thing. All these rubato that you need to deal with is really based upon how well somebody's doing, which you need to be aware of.
Right. So I'm really reacting to the material, you know, and if the meat is fresh and full of blood, it's going to you're going to cook it differently than all of a sudden it's a little frozen or a little too old, and you will have to put more sauce around it.
We're all going to be a little frozen after quarantine. We're going to have to remember how to do this again.
Absolutely. But I would say, for instance, I just did a Bohème in Covent Garden. And for some reason, this is the first time I was not totally scared to death before the first downbeat.
Really?
Yeah, no, because Bohème is really hard.
Goodness.
So
every measure it's changing.
To fall apart. And somehow there I just say, okay, how good is it going to be tonight, you know? Which is a very, very good feeling, and that I usually have with Carmen, for instance. But then you think everything is going okay, and there is a curveball.
After almost 100 performances of La Bohème, I was in a production not too long ago, we don't have to say where the banda came in 2 measures early. The banda in Act 2 was 2 measures early and never fixed it.
What?
And I mean, what was happening? I mean, your ears you can't even comprehend what's happening because it's so disjointed in this moment, and there was not enough communication between the pit and the banda conductor, and for 98 seconds it was a catastrophe.
Right.
completely off the rails.
Yeah.
So you need to pay attention.
That banda is the reason why we don't sleep with Bohème. And it can be even worse when the banda is pre-recorded.
Right. That
because
has to
then
be worse.
There is absolutely no adjustment. My rule with this, and I'm touching wood, is you are in the pit, you adjust everybody to the banda. So you don't tell that too much to the banda conductor, you know, bam, 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 bam. You just tell him, you go, and I will follow you, but still check on me.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you hear the drums when it starts. And so sometimes they give you those speakers, those monitors in the pit to hear more. But then there is a delay. The whole delay thing can make this absolutely nightmarish, because you're trying to catch up with the guy, but you catch up with the delay, and he's trying to catch up with you, but he has his other delay.
And in our case, the chorus went with the orchestra, and the singers were having a hard time not going with the banda. And so everybody was suddenly having two masters. And then we were all trying to go this way, and then, okay, no, let's all go this way. And it was a train wreck that could not be could not be fixed. And all you could do was just have this big wake up call, like, okay, this is a moment where everybody needs to refocus.
I don't want to know who the conductor was, but I feel for him, and I think in that
well,
he
took it in great stride, and I don't think he gets much of the fault on there, but it was a 2-measure early entrance which derailed the train until the end of the act. And
I would say, easy to say from here, but that has happened to me, and in that case, I bring everybody with the banda. Right. The rule is bring everybody to the banda, and if the chorus gets off, get with the chorus.
Yeah, I got you.
It's easier to move the orchestra to the chorus than the other way around.
Is that true?
Paradoxically, yeah.
Wow.
You would think it's easier to ask the chorus to come. No, they don't hear the orchestra the same way. They don't have the music in front of them.
Can you move an orchestra 2 measures?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, they usually do. It's funny, but they actually want to be together.
And what's good about you is that you are as tall as I am, and your wingspan is 6'4", 2 meters, and so everybody knows where we are. We're never lost when we're with you because it's very clear.
Right.
The beat is big and very clear. Your arms are.
Although I learned, we talked with your colleagues about that. I learned in a huge place like the Met that actually you need, on the contrary, to concentrate the beat. So that means I don't need to make myself bigger. I need to concentrate the gesture.
Keep it tighter.
And get the downbeat like really, really clearly. But for that reason, I'm not using the baton even at the Met now, or very, very little. Because I know this is going to be seen, but of course the size there can be very, very helpful. Those coordinations are nightmarish, and you have decisions to make in a split instant. There is also one other paradox is when things start, not necessarily here 2 bars delay, because here it's just like you scratch those 2 bars, or there is a decision that is a very unusual decision. But when things get off, you sometimes, as the conductor, you have to be, on the contrary, try to retrieve yourself a little, so the image gets back into some kind of focus, and then you seize it and you really precise it. It's like,
because if you panic, we will all panic
before you fix the other.
Yeah, that's right. And if we see panic on your face, we will all panic.
It is funny, but when something really bad happens, you don't panic.
Yeah,
as
really.
A conductor. You just say, okay, this is happening.
This is happening,
Maybe the curtain is going to fall, but this is what I can do. And
this is what's exciting about our business. This is all the excitement, is that we're living in a live performance where anything can happen. Scenery falls down, a soprano missed her entrance, somebody didn't make it to the theater on time. I mean, all of these things happen. I've been in 3 performances where people in the audience have died. Like this is a live show, and anything can happen. Oh, please, I'm killing it. I'm killing them on stage. But the age of our audience is not always so young, and so these things can happen, and that's the excitement of it. That anything can happen. Sometimes pure magic, sometimes a nightmare, and so this is what keeps me going. I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to the live show, and I miss it. I haven't had a performance in front of people since mid-January, and I feel it. I feel like I'm missing it.
Right. Do you sing every day? Do you prepare your voice?
I had no problem taking 2 weeks off and not doing a thing, just getting away from it and just letting the reality of our new time settle in.
Thinking, yeah.
But my scores are nearby, and I'll have to start getting back into them sooner rather than later. I mean, there's not a real rush, but if we do get back to work, I have a Mephistopheles in Amsterdam, and
the Boito.
That takes real preparation, and so that'll be out soon. I hope we get there. I hope to God we get there, but who knows?
But I suspect most of the tenors, for instance, they have to prepare their voice before a performance. If you have to vocalize, is it for you, do you have to vocalize a lot, or you just warm right away like a good?
No, I have to warm up. You know, as you get older, you have to warm up more, but not 12 minutes, 10 minutes. You know, it's nothing. It's not some long thing. If you're in the middle of a production and you're singing every 2 days, you tend to stay healthy.
Right.
It's not like starting an old car yet. I'll get there, but for now, I'm still healthy.
Do you have a routine? Do you have some OCD things you have to do before you go on stage?
For me, the best thing that I can do is treat it like a normal day. If I'm supposed to go to the gym, I go to the gym. If I'm supposed to go to the grocery store, I go to the grocery store. I don't make performance day extra special, because then I put a pressure on myself that it needs to be something more than it is. But the performance is what I do. We've been doing it for a very long time. There's no need to add pressure. And so when it comes to performance day, I do nothing different. I'll always get to the theater an hour early, just to quiet and focus, but no obsessive compulsive. I have to eat chicken with beans, or I have to, you know, tap the wall 3 times, or find a broken nail. You know, none of those things. I'm not superstitious.
Are you talking about someone specific, you know?
Every tenor I ever met.
Yes, yes. But as long as it works for them, we're
whatever you need. No, whatever and I'll help you. Whatever you need.
Yeah.
Anything to get those tenors back out there.
Right. So you have always been an incredibly dedicated colleague, a very warm colleague, and you know, as a conductor, I always feel like we're doing this together. We're finding this together, and we can discuss anything, and there are a lot of things we don't have to discuss. The question I've asked your friends and colleagues, what do you do when you have a conductor that is really not helpful? And has that happened?
Of course it's happened. Conductors towards the end of their careers, who've had, you know, incredible careers, and you must respect them for that, but who aren't necessarily as helpful as maybe they once were. In this case, if there's a prompter, you lean on the prompter. If you don't have a prompter, you lean on the concertmaster.
Right.
And they know more than anyone how the maestro's doing. And if you're having trouble following a beat, or a pattern is not quite what you think it should be, or whatever, and you watch the bow of the concertmaster, you know where you are.
Right.
And so that I've certainly been in that situation, but you can have the same problem with a very, very young maestro too, who's in over his head, and that also happens. And so you respectfully just try and make it a process of working together. And it's funny now that I'm 41 and the maestros are, you know, I've worked with some now that are quite a bit younger than me, especially, you know, in Europe, and you're with a hot shit, excuse my French, a conductor, and you know, the guy's 28 or something, and so you have to readjust how you approach in discussing things or talking about things, and you know, telling them your needs. You know, we have to have contact at this spot, or the whole thing's going to come apart. You know, certainly been in that situation.
Right. That's interesting. You say this about young conductors. I really think that we artists and musicians get deeper and better with time.
Oh, no doubt.
And of course, you know, according to the instrument you play, the voice, the oboe, the horn, or the violins, the moment your muscles are going to really betray you is different according to the technique of the instrument.
Of course.
And in that way, our biggest muscle conductors is the brain.
Yeah.
And so it declines at normally, you know, a really old age. So we get better. To be totally direct and frank with you, as nobody's listening, or well, no, actually we have a few people listening. I think this mod, this new fashion of young conductors and hip is not productive, and it's not helping most of them, because they get a chance and they play in the major houses or in very important houses where there is visibility, and they don't succeed.
Yeah.
And then to go back on that seat, and it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah.
And it's not helping the performances. It's not helping the musicians, and it ultimately not helping the audience. And
it's very funny. There's an energy that can be exciting. But the people watching should know that Maestro Guillaume has done what he's done with no hair. The hair for the young maestro is very important.
Right.
I have found that the bigger the hair, the less I trust.
Right. Okay. Well, let's all go to our pages of conductors and see where's hair and who doesn't have hair. It's funny you speak about energy because, you know, I used to spend physically a lot of energy on the podium just because I couldn't help it.
Oh, I've seen you. You sweat the whole night through. It's tremendous work.
I sweat less and less.
Yeah.
But I still think I'm concentrating the energy more and more. And I'm trying to make that energy a mental energy more than anything. And this is what I'm talking about growing and maturing, getting wiser with time. I learned that also by just giving classes, teaching. You know, you learn so much by teaching. And I have seen so many of my colleagues having that incredible personal body energy on stage, but the orchestra doesn't have it. And
right. Oh, I see.
It's like those singers who are singing so loud, but it just stays around them. It doesn't project.
Their whole instrument is shaking, but you can't hear it.
Yeah. And I remember actually rehearsing next to some of your colleagues, and you say, "Oh my God, this is so loud," and then they tell you in the house doesn't go through. Your technique, which is really very, very, very strong, because I know that because I remember, I think it was a normal or something like that. You had the flu, or there was major allergy issues, so the voice was not cooperating.
Right.
And I just said, "Oh shoot, you know, whatever I do, and maybe the cover is in there." And you sound like it sounded like every other performances. What is do you associate to a special school in terms of technique? Do you think a lot technique when you sing, or just second nature?
Every note I'm thinking technique. Every note. I think technique more than I think drama, and that's probably not a popular thing to say. But I know exactly. I worked with Marilyn Horton a long time ago as a young artist, and we were working on a little bit of coloratura, and nobody did it like her. I mean, nobody. And she said, "You have 15 notes right here. You need to know exactly what happens between each one, not start here and end here." She said the technical things that happen between these notes, you need to know better than anything. And I kind of took this to heart, because there's nothing you can just toss off, not in this kind of work, not in this kind of, if you're trying to create this kind of endless Verdi line where you're trying to sing over 8 bars or something. You need to know exactly what's happening from one semi-quaver to the next. And so for me, I think about technique constantly. And I have learned that I can lean on my technique, especially when sick. I know what's possible. I know where you need to save or where you can give more. I'm somebody who thinks about technique constantly, because I know that if you can't be heard over the orchestra, you're never going to work again.
Right.
And so you can bleed and die and give every last bit of drama you have, but if they can't hear you, you're done. And so I think technique before anything. I'm sure that's not a popular thing to say, but it's driven me 20 years.
But you are very good on stage. You are very good dramatically too, and I think there is a certain elegance in the way you are dramatically present, you know, which is different than, I would say, I don't know. I mean, for Neil Shikov, for instance, you know, who is going to compensate brilliantly with a dramatic presence, or probably the voice is in. Christian, are you there? Yes, you're there. Talking of technique, are you teaching, or are you interested in teaching? Christian is having, or I am having broadband issue. I don't think so. Christian, are you there? Hello, Christian.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay, so I was saying, are you teaching? Christian,
There you
do you
are.
hear me?
There you are. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Are you teaching?
I treat teaching like the movie Fight Club. Do you know this movie?
Oh yes, I love it.
If somebody wants to work with me, they have to ask me 3 times. Because it happens all the time that somebody wants to know some things, and if they ask me casually, it's definitely no. If they write me, I'll entertain it a little bit, but to really pin me down and have time, you have to take it as serious as I do. And I can't deal with anybody who doesn't take it as serious as I do. And so I treat it very much like Fight Club, that if you really want to work with me, it's going to take more than a casual ask me in the middle of a chorus rehearsal. You know, it has to be a heartfelt, genuine request. And some people know how to do it and some people don't. And when a young bass approaches me very humbly and just wants to know anything, they can have all of my attention.
And can you teach soprano, tenor, haute contre?
I certainly haven't. I haven't, but I think the breathing is the same. I think the support is the same, but I don't always know the passaggio things that are happening. I certainly don't know how a tenor does what they do. I don't know how a light lyrics coloratura knows what they do. I'm not versed in that, but I'm sure that I could talk and have something to say to any bass or bass baritone or baritone.
Right. How do you balance your family life, your personal life with your professional life? How does that articulate itself?
It's a huge sacrifice, and everybody already knows that answer. You know, it's a matter of having a support system at home, because you're just not here. I'm not here, and I've done 10 months on the road sometimes, and if it's going well, it's because the family is working hard to make it go well. And if I'm out, if it's my job to earn the money, then I better be good at that. And I can't. Everybody sort of has to accept their role in this. The balance of it is way off, and we're getting a good rebalancing here by being home, and for me to be aware of exactly how much goes on here without me, and you know, in a lot of ways, you end up living separate lives, and so the balance is something that is a constant struggle.
But
FaceTime helps, you know, these sort of things.
Your family sometimes travels with you, correct?
They did for years. Now my son is in school, and makes it impossible. And he's in a good school, and we can take him out whenever we want. But it's just difficult. Children do better on a schedule. Children do better with a lot of consistencies in their life. And it would be selfish of me to make them come on the road with me. I think that would be selfish of me. And so we're figuring out. It's not easy. It's not easy.
How does your son see you living? I mean, Diana was telling me, you know, well, they see the suitcases, Diana Damro, and they really don't like them.
He's never not liked me leaving. Maybe that's coming. I don't know, but he has certainly enjoyed the performances he's seen, or if he's seen one on TV, or he's gone into the movie theater and watched an HD performance. Or I want my boy to see a success, and so I work hard to that end, because I want him to.
You bring him to other people's performances. Yeah. Sorry. So sorry.
You think I don't know you?
Oh yeah, right.
No, but I want him to see what hard work looks like, and I think that's as important as a father who is home at 5 o'clock every day, but is maybe too tired from there to pay him any attention. So when I am home, I am very much home, and take over all the duties that I can do, and stay involved. But my son has also seen the world. You know, my son has gold status. My son has gold status on United because I've taken him everywhere, and so that was something I didn't grow up with. I don't know that, and he only knows that. So this is his life in a way. I don't think there's room for children to resent you if they don't know any better.
Right, right. And if
I'm
they see
different.
you,
I'm different than the other guys' dads, but in the same respect, he has done things that the other kids will never be able to do. So it's a
and
trade.
his
It's a
dad is a
trade.
very special person. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Wow.
it's a balance, and we're constantly trying to make it better, but it's difficult for sure.
Right. Do you, when you are, let's say you are in another country or in even another time zone, and you are so rehearsing a role you know very well, so you don't have to obsess when you go back to your apartment or to your hotel. What do you do? Do you read? Do you watch movies? Do you just go around in circles in your room or in the city?
um, you can't put your life on pause.
Right.
Life has to continue. And so I have friends and I have colleagues, and I make sure that I'm going out and doing things and being social and having my own life, because if it's a prison sentence, you won't survive 2 years in this business. And so I'm somebody who has to go to the gym. And so I make sure to establish that schedule right away. I go to the gym very early in the morning, and if I set that on the first day that I'm in town, I'll do it the whole time. And so I create a schedule for myself, and I stick to it.
Right. Well, I mean, you are an incredibly balanced artist and performer. And I think you were saying, I think technique first, and maybe it's not popular to say it, the drama is not there, but the person is always there when you're on stage. And that person is incredibly...
You're a sweet man for saying that.
No, I mean that. Even your devil, your Mephistopheles, your Mephisto, or in the Faust, at least we did together.
Yeah.
You could have some sympathy for him, So because your personality shines and is wonderful. So I really want to thank you for this time together. And
you're so sweet, Maestro. I can't wait till we're making art again together.
Let's do this, and let's hope it's sooner than later.
Yeah.
And that you need the night to understand the day, and you need to have the knowledge of that to enjoy your life. And I think people are going to enjoy live performances more than ever.
They'll be dying to get back to it. And somebody said recently, they said, an airplane takes off going against the wind. And so this is a heavy wind right now, and I think it's going to take us some time, but people persevere, and the way that the world has seemed to come together in this is I think this is a historic time people will write about and remember the way they remember the Great Depression or the Second World War. This is our battle, and so we're going to get through it. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be fine.
I hope the world is indeed going to come together. And we all need to do that. And really a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure seeing you. Thank you for your time, Christian.
You too, brother. Be well.
Repaint that room, that green. No.
No good.
No good. You have to start that again. Lots of love. You take care.
Be well. Be well, my friend. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Bye.